What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. All my beanies are in the laundry, so I got this tall one on my head right now because I feel naked without one. I also lost my pendant. Well, technically I lost it, but I found it. It broke off and I found it. Now I got to figure out how to connect it back to my necklace. So today we're going to be working on my brother's brown Civic wagon. We are ready to bring it back onto the driveway because we finally got the big item we've been waiting for. And today we're going to dial his stance a little bit because currently it is 4x4 and it's Mexi poking pretty bad. While the brown car was off the driveway, I have been working on the two blue cars off camera. On the blue Civic wagon, we finally swapped out the front struts that were blown to some new ones. We got some KYB XL shocks to replace the blown one that are in his car. Literally, when I took the spring off, the shock just went straight down into the body. So we swapped those out. I spaced the trailing arm in the rear to clear the tow arm hitting the frame. That's ready to rock and roll for the alignment. And my blue car, the last update we did to it was we swapped the trans. Everything feels good. Shout out to the old school Capital. But the whining noise is still there. So I decided to diag a little bit more. And I was stubborn, man. The original video of us diagging the car with the whining noise, a lot of you guys were saying take off the drive shaft to see if that might be the problem. And I was being stubborn because I was like, I don't even have a front drive shaft. But the back and the viscous coupler would still spin with the rear axles and differential in place. So I decided to take it off. And one thing I noticed was when I took off the bolts for the back drive shaft to the differential, I couldn't even separate the shaft from the differential. That's how tight knit it was. And the reason for the no play is because we are running billet carrier bearings. So once you fix those into place, it is fixed in place. Now with the OEM carrier bearings, it's rubberized, so you have a lot of movement, you know what I'm saying, a lot of play. But with the billet, it was causing, I feel like it was causing a bind, friction, pressure, which then causes it to whine because it's a rotating item. To whine, the faster we go. Guess what? I took off the viscous coupler, which relieved the drive shaft, took the whole entire unit out, and the whining is completely gone. So now I have a solution to fix that whole ordeal, and we're just waiting for parts to show up. So right now I need to move my car off the driveway so I can move my brother's car here. But first I'm gonna take it to the street to kind of show you guys how the car is looking. I mean, look at this, guys. Look at this. And there's a reason for it, but I'm gonna show you guys. Ugh. Let's go ahead and get a battery in this car because it was freaking dead and it's on the charger currently. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but pay attention to this action clutch twin disc. It's a lot quieter than my Exetti. Let me move you guys closer. It's pretty quiet, isn't it? Love it. All right, so I want to show you guys real quick how my brother's car is currently sitting. Now, it does have some massive wheel gap, and the reason for that is because if you guys have been following the channel for a while, you guys remember my brother smashed his oil pan. we had to lift it up and plate the pan just so that it doesn't crack it next time, because it is aluminum. That's why the car is lifted. But if you look, not only is it lifted, but it has some positive camber. So the wheels are poking pretty bad. I'm sorry for all the noise in the back. This is a camber gauge for my RC car that I extended to kind of use as a tool to figure out the camber for a real car. So for my brother's car, you just loosen up the knob, put it up against the rim, hit the top right there. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. So I'm gonna go ahead and just hit the top and then lock it in place. And the front of his car says almost positive 1 camber. It's like a little bit under 1, like maybe 0.75 positive camber in the front, right? And obviously it looks pretty damn squared, so definitely positive. We need to get into the negative a little bit. It kind of helps with like handling. Let me see what the rear is. The rear is the same. It's literally right under positive 1. So let's just say it's positive 1 degree front and rear. And I did call my buddy the other day to kind of get an idea of where it would be at for the type of driving. So right here on my post-it, my buddy who tracks his EF, which is the same guy who bought my green CRX, he said for the front, negative 2.2 to 2.5, and then for the rear, negative 1.5 to negative 2. I'm not going super aggressive with my brother's car. He did tell me that he does go up the mountain every so often when he gets off of work, and you know, we're not going super aggressive with the driving, obviously, but at least get it within that specification, probably at the minimum like 2.2 rear and 1.5 front. And just to kind of bring the wheel in a little bit. And the reason why I want to put it into the negative is because he wants stickier tires, because the tires on his wheels now, some off-brand seasonal tires, they don't grip at all. He tells me that the car slides, but what helps is the all-wheel drive, and he wants to be able to grip a little bit. So we want to upgrade his tires to something like Federal RS RRs or Falcon Zenni's 615Ks or the 660s. But nothing too crazy like NTL1s, AR1s, CR1s, or anything like that. So we want to upgrade the tires to at least a 205 because it is currently on 195s. But the problem is the wheels are sticking out a bunch, and with a 205 it's going to stick out even further. So I'm trying to avoid having him buy new wheels. Instead, camber these in a little bit, lower it down just a smidge, and then if it looks like it'll clear 205s, we'll rock 205 on the current wheels, so you don't have to buy some new ones. So today's goal, like mentioned, is to adjust my brother's stance. So I took the car for a drive, and now I know what my brother was talking about as far as the noise on the passenger side. So a couple of days ago, when I did put this car back on the ground to move it off the driveway, I took note that the ball joint, this guy right here, was moving up and down with the spindle attached. So it was making a lot of clacking noise up and down. And these eBay upper control arms, literally about a year ago I installed these, and bushings are gone, like shot, done did, gonzo. So we're going to be swapping these out to the Megan Racing as well. If you guys remember, we bought 2 kits. So these right here are the Maxpeedingrod SP1 coilovers. This is the second to the last model that they came out with, and I had these on my red CRX. They perform really well for being an all-wheel drive car. I daily drove it, very comfortable, and they worked out for what I was using it for. Now obviously we have the same one in my brother's wagon, and it performed well, but this is a much heavier car than the red CRX, and I wanted to upgrade the spring rates on it. So instead of just buying the springs, I figured, you know what, let's just upgrade it entirely to the latest Maxpeedingrod coilovers, which is the T7 model. And this right here, I had it in Project Blueberry, and I also had it in my green CRX. I did a review on it fully on the Project Blueberry. Daily drove it, back roads, drag, track. It performed really well. I actually did a 1/660 foot with this coilover system in Project Blueberry. When I had it in the green CRX, it drove really well, and I like that it was a little bit stiffer, like night and day difference between the red car. And my buddy who bought my green CRX, he's a track rat. Like, this dude tracks super hardcore, and he told me driving home 45 miles, he said the suspension is really well for the car, not as aggressive for his type of driving, but for what the Maxpeedingrod T7 coilover is, it's really good out of the box. So today we're going to be installing this right here, guys. Let's go ahead and unbox it. Got a fresh blade on here. Be sure to cut away from yourself, not towards yourself. Right here we have the Maxpeedingrod catalog with the wrenches as well too for the purchase. Sorry, it's a little bit dark. We got the collars right here if you're using it on EG or DC or EK, and the brackets for the brake lines right there. You can definitely see how much more thicker the spring is on the front than it is on the rear. I believe this is like a 710K spring. If I'm wrong, I'll put it on the screen. So right now I'm gonna leave the rears in the box because we're only working with the front half. So let me go ahead and grab the front camera kit as well. Megan Racing upper control arms. I bought this from eBay. It's as simple as typing in your make and model and then the part you're looking for, and then a variety of companies is gonna pop up, and then you just select whatever company you want to rock with. I did my research, and upon my research, this is like another company, but you save money. In here we have a Megan Racing catalog as well, along with the warranty card. And then we have cotter pins, we have the nuts, which is secured onto the upper control arm itself. This right here is the upper control arm, tubular style and not the tuner series style. I feel like this is much stronger. And then we have pretty much all of the anchors and, you know, hardware and everything right here in this bag as well. So let me go ahead and lay it out so we can take some pictures, and then we'll get to reinstalling everything. You guys already know the first thing out of the box. Tied up the bolts to the top hats. Oh yeah, look at that. They are still spinning. That's about 3 half turns, so 1.5. Okay. These Megan Racing upper control arms, I am leaving these anchors loose so that way we can preload it before tightening them down so we don't twist the bushings up, right? So simple enough, just install it, and then I'm just going to use a jack on the lower control arm to kind of position it to where, you know, it's going to sit, and then we'll crank it down before we put the coilovers in, because, you know, once the coilover goes in, we have no access. So get these bolts on here. You know, I just realized that their logo has the motto on it right there. Maxpeedingrods T7 coilovers. Everything is installed, both the driver's side and the passenger side. So I'm gonna toss the wheel on, and I want to get the front ride height set before I turn the car around to do the rear. So the ride height looks the same since I did match it up to the old suspension. I'm gonna take it around the block real quick to see if it'll settle, to see how much we need to adjust to go a little bit lower if possible, and then we'll see where the camber sits. +1. All right guys, so we worked into the night, but we got the rear T7 coilovers from Maxpeedingrods installed. I adjusted this to the old SP1 that came out of it, which I already packed in the box because that's going to be reused in my buddy CRX, and I didn't go any lower. All I did was make it even because the old spec was a 1/4 inch apart, 24 1/4, and then 24 1/2 left and right side. So all I did was match it. And right now, before I drop it, I want to mess with the camber. I don't know if you guys can see this. Now, when the car's on the ground, we have +1 camber. When I jack the car up, it went out even more. That is a lot of positive camber. So I'm going to adjust this a little bit, trying to figure out how to go about it. Trying to make it a one shot. You can see the drum right here is like tilted outward on the top. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's pretty tilted. So I'm gonna adjust the camber. I'm hoping to probably do it to the OE spec if I have the OE arms in here. If I have the OE ones in there, I'll probably take it all off and you know, get it to the factory spec so it can naturally camber in, and then adjust that when we get to the shop. The front, I did mess with the camber, and I moved it almost a little over 1/4 inch inward to try to get some negative camber, but the most it gave me was 0, and I didn't want to mess with it anymore. So you can see right here the specifications for how many times I adjusted the coilovers. This is what it was before with the SP1, 24 on the left side, 24 3/4 on the right. And then I put the coilover on after adjusting it the first time. After dropping the car, it read 24 on the left, 23 3/4, so we dropped 1 inch on the passenger side, and then I adjusted it, got it down to 23 1/4 and 23. Now this side is lower, and then I adjusted it again, got 23 3/4 on both sides, but it still looked high to me, so I adjusted it again, got it down to 23 1/2. So I adjusted it so much to get it to the right height that I wanted to. I feel like it looks like it's a little high, but it looks better than what it was before. So I'm gonna leave it alone. And then the front was originally +1, adjusting the camber a little bit, got it down to 0. So hopefully the alignment shop can get it within a specification. And then obviously, like I said, I'm working on the rear. The rear camber is also +1, and I'm just trying to get it to like at least a factory spec, at least like 1.5 by the time I'm done with the rear of the car. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get to that. I mean, if you guys have ever messed with camber adjustments, it's literally 2 nuts, break it loose, spin the center, and then in and out to get the camber you're desiring. So I'm gonna get that done. I'm gonna take this thing on the driver quick to settle the suspension, and then we'll take some measurements. Measuring tape, a little DIY camber tool. Let's see where the rear is sitting at. I literally went in circle like 4 times right there at the intersection just to, you know, settle the suspension. Now this is gonna throw it off a little bit as well too, because the tires are completely shot, or at least just the outside. But anyways, I don't think that matters because we are measuring to fender. So let's see, 24 1/4. Is that what we are at in the front? 24 1/4. You know what? That's actually perfect because the front is 23 3/4, which makes the front and back 1/2 inch difference. So I'm happy about that. Let's see where the camber sits at. And I can already tell you just by looking from the side, the tire profile is more in, which is what we're shooting for. We are at, I want to say it's like a -0.5, and I'm kind of happy about that, because if we get the camber in the rear and the front to go in a little bit more, my brother might be able to get away with a 205 on here and not poke like crazy. Although he did drive the car higher before and super mexi poke before, so I don't think a 205 on this wheel spec will look too bad, or at least for him. So let's check the other side. Oh yeah, just a little bit under 24 1/4, which is not bad. It is not bad. And camber, just under -1. I'm happy about that. That's freaking awesome. Let me see if I can give you guys like a side profile. I'm stoked. You guys can't see it, but way different than when we first started. And I'm happy about all the work we did in today's video. Oh, that is so much more in compared to what it was before. And on top of that, the car does feel a ton better with the stiffer spring rate. It's not a lot, but I believe 7 in the rear and 10 in the front, that's plenty for a daily driver. My car, that's just got 16-18K. I'm back. I feel my back every time I say that. Whew. Didn't expect to take this long to do my brother's suspension, but at least we didn't go until a second day. Adjusting the front suspension is always confusing to me, because when you put it even on the coilovers, for some reason one side always ends up higher or lower than the other. So having to go back and forth to get it to the right height for both sides took a little while. You guys saw the cardboard. I marked it down every single time I adjusted it until we got it right. Nonetheless, we got the new coilovers installed. Shout out to Maxpeedingrods for sending that over. And like I said, I can already feel the difference on the ride quality between the SP1 and the new T7 coilovers. So if you guys are interested in the same Maxpeedingrods T7 coilovers, be sure to check the link in the description below. They have a lot of make and models on their website. I checked it out this morning. So if you find one for your car, you're interested in purchasing it, be sure to use discount code YStatic to save a couple of bucks off at checkout. But guys, I think we're gonna wrap it up for this video. The camera arms got installed today, the new coilovers got installed today, and 205 is looking very promising without having to switch the wheels. So I'm stoked about that. If you guys enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a thumbs up. And if you guys want to stick around for some S1 stuff that's going to be going into the car here in the next couple of days, be sure to hit the subscribe button. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.